Hello everybody and welcome back. I am KRX and we are continuing on our beginner series for Europa Universalis 4, playing as England this time. And in episode 1, we looked at our diplomatic environment. We got sent out our diplomats and had them start doing some things. It looks like we have the alliance with Castile, and we started with the alliance with Portugal. We've also added a royal marriage with Austria. We need to kind of shore up some of these other relationships. It looks like we're also trying to build up a alliance with Ulster and potentially use them to get a vassalization. They're willing to accept a diplomatic vassalization, but it requires that we butter them up a little bit more, so we'll have to work on that alliance, sending diplomats to improve relations and stuff. But what we're doing is we're not teaching how to play England, we're teaching the game, right? We're teaching the game. We are using a few DLCs, just a small handful, based on the Empire Founders Pack. That's Common Sense, Art of War, and Rights of Man. So those come with the Steam bundle that's commonly picked up, called like the Empire Founders Pack or something like that, which are pretty good DLC. So this is kind of in between, middle of the road kind of a tutorial. We have one with Castile and Ottomans that include all the DLC for the crazy people, and we have one for Portugal and Muscovy that are without any DLC. So this is England. So we're playing as England. England's a pretty powerful country with kind of an interesting sort of issue at the beginning. We've noticed that we have this looming disaster. The War of the Roses is upon us. And that's going to be progressing per month based on not having enough stability. So we talked about how we wanted to maybe save up some of our administrative power to be able to boost up our stability here and sort of help with that. We also are our ruling dynasty is not York, and blah blah blah, and all these other things. And we have a ruler of very low skill, 000. So we want this guy to croak. Ideally, that would be a really nice, a good scenario there if he was not to make it. We are making good money with the economy. We've mothballed some of our forts. We're keeping some of the really important ones online, but some of them are being mothballed that are less threatening or less threatened by our opposition. We're keeping some of the ones on the border with France ready to go, though, just in case. One of the big things we're working on is we have a mission called Levy the Troops, right? And this is something that is, when we do this, we're going to get permanent claims on the entire British Isles, including a special casus belli, cause for war against Scotland, to subjugate them, which is kind of cool. So we could subjugate Scotland with a special CB, and we'll also be able to get a bunch of claims on just all the British Isles and just be able to terrorize Ireland and such with that. In fact, then it ties into a mission called Conquer Ireland. So that's something we're going to want to do. It requires 60% of our manpower. We have 8,000 right now, and it takes about 10 years to go from 0% to full. So if we have 8,000 now, we need to get to about 16,000 or so. It's going to take us about it's probably going to take us about 3 or 4 years to do this. But additionally, we need to get our army size up to 100%. Right now, our army force limit is only 29 out of 37, so we can build 8,000 more troops. However, each of these regiments that we build will cost us 1,000 manpower. So we actually need to build up about 16,000 manpower from scratch, which will take about 6 years, 5 or 6 years. So there's going to be a lot of sitting around here. We do have an event that it could potentially cause havoc between us and France. It just kind of depends on France's choices, our choices, and stuff. So there could be an issue with France, and that's just my understanding. I have played the game a couple times. There's a very large historical event that will trigger between us and France that might thrust us into a war. But I think we're going to try to go with peace and diplomacy initially, and sort of let our numbers build up, let our economy sort of build up a little bit, let our manpower build up a little bit, and so forth. We have trade ships that are going to be protecting in the Lubeck node, so they're going to be coming up here and protecting here so that we can shuffle down more money down in the English node, where we could collect about 50% of it. We are trying to use our diplomats to sort of maneuver around the world and secure the alliances that we're working on. We need the alliance with Austria, so we'll be able to get that when the diplomat comes back. So let's unpause the game. We are ready to unpause the game, guys. Let's roll. So this is a real-time strategy game. We're paused right now. Spacebar, we can pause and unpause anytime we want. We're on speed 3. It's good middle-of-the-road speed, and things are going to be moving. Right now, everything is set basically as a blank canvas. The only thing that's really been determined so far is the rivalry system, right? Countries have chosen to rival and ally different nations. not ally as much. There are some pre-scripted alliances, like England and Portugal are always allied at the beginning of the game. And France and Provence, it looks like here I can see that on the France diplomacy screen, they're allied to Provence at the beginning of the game. But for the most part, most countries don't have any allies. Most countries don't really have anything going on, unless they have like vassals and subjects and guarantees and stuff. So it's very hand-picked stuff for certain countries historical based or balance based or whatever within the confines of the game. So when we unpause everyone's diplomats, we've already used our diplomats, but the AI will start shuffling their diplomats around, and things are going to get kind of crazy. We got a lot of things we want to do with these diplomats. We want to shore up our alliances with the people we want alliances with. We need to butter up Ulster, try to get the diplomatic vassalization. We want to make the Pope happy. We're a good Catholic nation. Let's make the Pope happy. There's some little benefits that we can do by keeping the Pope on our good side, on being on the good side of the Pope, I should say. So a diplomat has just come back. I'm watching over here. 6 days until this one returns. 7 days till this one returns. This one's available. What can we do here? What can we do here? Well, we need to wait till next month to send another diplomat. When you send a diplomat to a country, there's about a 30-day cooldown. You can't just spam them with requests. It's about a 30-day cooldown between sending these guys here. We could get a royal marriage with Portugal, and that could shore up that relationship. It's easy to break an alliance. It's not as easy to break a royal marriage. So I'm actually kind of wondering if we want a royal marriage with Portugal, or we don't mind if Portugal kind of goes by the wayside a little bit. Yeah, we have to wait till December 12th before we can ally a royal marry Castile and ally Austria. Same with these. So we're basically kind of lounging around for a second. What we could do is we could actually be building, we could send one of these diplomats over to Brittany to work as a spy. So let's work as a spy, build a spy network in Brittany, and that will give us a cause for war against Brittany, which could be kind of interesting. We're waiting until December 12th. We got these diplomats kind of sitting by, but December 12th we'll be able to sort of shore up some of these relationships here. Austria actually is sending us the alliance request. Cool, nice. Ulster sending it to us. That means that doesn't hurt the cooldown, which is really, really great. So thank you for doing that. Portugal wants the royal marriage. I'm still kind of 50-50 on whether we care about that or not. Let's get the royal marriage with Castile. I don't think we're going to royal marriage Portugal. The reason being is, again, I don't want that diplomatic relationship slot to be too tied up. One thing, again, just to refresh, is that we have a limited amount of diplomatic relations. Sorry, I keep mixing this with reputation, which is a different thing, different metric. We can go over this number, and I think we're going to do this with the Irish miners. We're going to get a couple little Irish miner vassals, but it's going to cost us diplomatic points to do this. Right now, we're at exactly 4. Now, adding Portugal doesn't get us to 5 because we already have an alliance with Portugal. However, we have an option where we could ditch Portugal. We could just keep Castile, keep Austria, ditch Portugal, and then and that could be one plan. So I'm not gonna royal marriage Portugal because I want to stay sort of light on my feet there. I want to be able to ditch Portugal if I feel like we need to or don't need Portugal anymore. When we look at the Irish miners, I think this is a really good province here. We haven't talked about fortifications yet, but this Munster is actually the only province in Ireland that controls a castle. And castles are very, very hard to siege down in war. So this guy's going to be a little bit more frustrating to take aggressively. So I'm kind of thinking, let's vassalize this guy. Let's because we could vassalize any of these dudes. The only reason why we wouldn't vassalize all of them is because of diplomatic reputation or relationship slots, right? We don't want to go over that relationship slot too much, but I think we are going to try to butter this guy up here. That'll get us one over. However, like I said, we can ditch Portugal anytime we want without penalty. It'll just make Portugal really unhappy. So I guess that's a penalty in that sense. Let's butter up Castile. Let's make them happy. We have to wait till January 13th to send someone to Castile. We could be buttering up Austria if we want. Actually, more importantly, let's butter up the vassal nations here. We got a lot of different things that we're kind of juggling right now, to be honest. Okay. Eventually, we're going to want to send the royal marriage request. So this says January 23rd, but in fact, let's send improved relations. So this is by sending an improved relation advisor or a diplomat to go and improve relations, that is specifically holding that diplomat there to continue to work on relationships for a prolonged period of time. When you get the alliance with someone, it just adds 50. It's just like, oh, alliance 50 plus 50. Great. But that doesn't like grow over time. It's always plus 50. It's a flat modifier. By using the improved relations, we can actually, over time, we can build this up. Right now we're at +4. Next month, we can watch this. Oh, they want a royal marriage with us? Nice, so we don't have to send our own diplomat to do that. Next month, it's going to go up to like a +8 or a +6 or something like that, right? It's going to go up. So we're going to wait till February, March, yep, +6. So we're going up by 2 every month. It's just sort of creeping up, creeping up, creeping up. Oh, we're going to hire a new advisor. We have the money to do so. Oh, a spy network construction guy. Okay, he's cheap. He's only 1 ducat per month. We'll grab him. So we're making some good money here. The economy is doing pretty well. Now, things we can do is we can build troops. We need to build up to our force limit, which is at 37,000 right now. We need to build more light ships because we probably have a naval force limit that we're not quite at yet. These light ships are really good because they pay for themselves because they can go and economically help with trade and stuff. So that's really, really good. So we can kind of prioritize different things. We could help the economy by building the light ships. We can work on that mission by building the manpower. Or building the regiments, getting up to there. Oh, one thing we could do, oh yeah, we're not paying for our troops right now, right? That's one of the things, that's one of the reasons why we're making so much money is because we're not paying for the army. We can see if we pay for the army, we're only making 2 ducats per month. But we're not paying for the army because, well, we're not at war. We're not planning to go to war. Right now we're just doing diplomatic things. Diplomatic things. One of those big diplomatic things that we're working on is getting to the point where we could vassalize these guys. It's going to take a few months for that to happen. We got to get to 190. 190. Now, there's a couple little things that we could do to kind of speed this along. We can send them other things that will make them happy. There's little incremental modifiers. Like we can proclaim a guarantee. We can give them a guarantee. Now, we've already allied them, so it's kind of like guaranteeing them is kind of we're double dipping a little bit there. Because guarantee basically means we're not an ally, but if you get attacked, we'll defend you. It's like a one-way alliance, which is actually kind of nice because you can protect a country without actually being obligated to join their aggressive wars. Because that's what can happen sometimes is these little countries that we've allied. Castile, we're not thinking about going to war, but Castile is thinking about going to war. Austria is thinking about going to war. These little nations over here are thinking about going to war. We might get called to war. It could happen at any moment. It could happen at any moment. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to vassalize these guys before they get any crazy ideas. Because that's what they might do. They might call us into a war against their neighbors, basically. But if we can vassalize them, then we kind of take out their autonomy. We kind of remove their ability to do things like that. Once they're a vassal, they just have to basically fall in line and follow our lead. We basically control their sort of diplomacy at that point. They don't have an independent mind when it comes to diplomacy. But they do still control their own economy and everything like that. Okay. So there we go. We've gotten to 20 with Brittany's spy network. 20 is the magic number. If we go here, we go back to the covert actions, we can see fabricate claim is now highlighted. We can't support rebels because this requires 60, sorry, I keep fumbling over my words today, guys. I apologize. This requires 60 spy network. We have 20. It says up here we have 20.72. I'm just kind of recognizing this little flag here with Brittany, but if you ever forget the flags, you can just hover over there. It says Brittany in parentheses there. So we can go here and we can fabricate claim. The other way we could do this is we could just click on the province that we want. We could just click on the one that we want and just fabricate it as such. Now we can basically get a claim on any of their provinces here. Any of their provinces here. Because we're bordering them based on these. Let's just get a claim on this one. It's a coastal province. And it just looks like a nice province. It's 12 development. It's good. I'm gonna pull back that diplomat because we now have a cause for war. We can attack Brittany. We can go to war with Brittany. Declare war, right? And that doesn't actually even look that bad. Look at this war. We could attack Brittany and we would only be fighting Cavalry. Cavalry is I just know this from playing the game. Cavalry, we can go to their diplomatic mode and look for Cavalry. Cavalry is this tiny little nation here. A little nation in the HRE. The other thing we could do is we could search for Cavalry and that will find it and that will hone in on them. So if you hit F, you bring up the search field and you can just type in anything you're looking for, countries or provinces or anything like that. That's a really helpful thing to know. But yeah, we could attack Brittany. In fact, it says Castile would help us. Castile would join in. Like we could just call Castile in to come beat up Brittany. We probably wouldn't even have to do anything in this war, to be honest. I wasn't considering this. But now I'm considering this. I wasn't considering this, but now I'm considering this. The thing is, I'm a little bit worried about the French event, and I don't know how that would work while we're at war. Let's proclaim guarantee on Munster, which should get them a little bit higher here. Let's do the same when we get that diplomat back on Ulster, because we're trying to frantically get these guys. The one thing that I'm thinking, this is a little bit nuanced, it's a little bit sort of not, I don't want to say gamey, but it's a little bit specific, is I'm thinking that if we declared on Brittany, it might prevent our allies from calling us into a silly war, right? Our allies will be like, oh, England's distracted with a war, we better not start our own wars, which is good, right? I don't want Munster or Ulster to declare a war on any of these guys. It would just kind of like distract us a little bit. I don't want our allies, like, I don't want Castile to declare their own war. So if they want to come help us with Brittany, it's like, dang. Maybe, how could we say no to that? How could we say no to that? We'd be making money even if we're paying for our army. We'd still be making money. It's an interesting choice, guys. It's an interesting choice. Well, let's get our troops situated and then we'll do it. We'll do it. Let's get our troops over here to sort of get ready to engage Brittany. And let's get our heavy ships. Well, that's the thing. It's like they have a navy down here. Let's get the heavy ships to blockade their navy preemptively. Let's get these guys over here to England. Let's get ready for this war. Let's get ready for this war. Ooh, this is really, really interesting. This is really interesting. Military development. Now we can get some army tradition. We haven't talked about this. There's tons of different metrics and stats and stuff when it comes to your quality of troops and your ability to fight battles and stuff like that. Army tradition is an amazing stat, but it decays down to 0. Just like prestige, it goes down to 0, right? If you're not constantly boosting it and propping it up, it goes down. Or at equilibrium is based on modifiers, right? You can have modifiers that push it up per year. You have modifiers that push it down per year, so on and so forth. It's always trying to get to 0, but you might have certain things that push it up. Like we have fully maintained forts, and that's actually pushing our army tradition up a little bit. This goes all the way up to 100, though. But here's the cool thing. When you train a general, when you recruit a general with military power, you pull them from the army. And based on your army tradition, this actually makes a lot of thematic sense if you think about it, right? If you have a high tradition army, right? An army that everybody's proud, and there's a lot of tradition, and there's a lot of sort of history of success and discipline, rigor and everything, right? And you pull someone from that army to be a general, there's a chance they're going to be a better general. So the higher army tradition, the better our generals. The higher the army tradition, the better the generals are when we roll them. The general stats don't fluctuate as army tradition goes up and down. Like this won't make our current generals better, but it's just when you pull them from the army, how good are they? How talented are they? 5 is really low. That's like terrible. These generals would be awful. Like the general we have here, John Talbot, he's amazing. He's like a historical figure. This 2, 4, 3, these pips, we haven't talked about what these pips are for or how they work or anything like that. And our leader's terrible because he's got no shock damage. He's got no fire. He's got no shock. He's got a bunch of maneuvers, so he's really fast. So he's good at retreating. I'm kind of teasing. He's good at moving around. He's very fast. But he's a coward. But he's good at sieging, actually, which is kind of useful. The point of the story is, this 10 army tradition likely will just kind of slowly decay into oblivion anyways. The manpower is really good because we just said we need manpower. This literally shaves off about a year of manpower growth. So that saves us a year in terms of potentially getting this mission done. And it gives us the manpower we maybe need to float this war. We can see here, actually. The interesting thing is there's a few things that I'm looking at. So we're thinking about attacking Brittany, right? I can see Brittany's army here, 7,000 troops. We have 13,000 here. We can check the supply limit of the provinces, 22, 18, 26. Okay. I'm going to try, and there's another metric I'm going to go look up here. It's called the combat width. Our combat width is 20 by default. At the start of the game, it's 20. Okay. So we can have 20 units in the front row between infantry and cavalry, and the cavalry kind of stand on the wings. They kind of sit on the sides. So we can have up to 20 guys here for the most devastating attack on these 7,000 units. Is going to be the idea here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to get over 7,000 more guys to join in with this group, and let's take the cavalry because they're good at pillaging and raiding, but they're also, of course, just very high damage units. So we're going to basically compose our army in such a way that when we engage these 7,000, it'll be the most decisive battle that we can possibly create. And it looks like we're going to be ready for the battle. I think we're going to put John in charge because he's actually a good military general. There we go. We have 20,000 troops here ready to move into here. They actually reduced their troops. They're trying to save money. They're having money issues. They've actually reduced down. Let's go to war. Let's go to war. This should be a quick war. We have a claim for this province, so we're going to try to take this province, and we'll talk about this process and everything. They're still only allied to Cavalry. This is perfect. This is perfect. Okay, so let's think about this step by step. Okay, we have a free diplomat. We need to declare the war, right? We're not at war with them now. So we send our diplomat to send them a missive, hey, we have declared war on you. We have to pick our CB. And we have a CB. If we don't have a CB here, massive stability issues, massive penalties, aggressive expansion issues, all kinds of terrible things. This is a specific cause for war. We are saying that our cause for war is to take this province. If we try to take other things that we don't have claims for, like this province here that we don't have a claim for, that's an unjustified ask, and there's going to be a penalty for that. We'll see how that works once the war starts. But for the most part, our troops are mostly recovered. They're not completely, their morale is not as high as it should be, but I don't want to wait for something to change. I don't want Brittany to like get another ally or something. I just want to sneak in there and sort of get them while they're surprise attack them while we can. So we're going to declare war. We can see down here that the enemy allies here, they have Cavalry. In Cavalry, there's a check mark here to say that Cavalry will join the war. Cavalry will join. We can do this to make them a co-belligerent. What that means is that we'll be able to invoke the CB on them as well. So we can invoke a conquest CB on Cavalry directly. And it means that we won't take as much penalty for taking Cavalry's land. Well, guess what? The problem is that means that their allies will get called in. So if we go to Cavalry and we see who their allies are, they're also allied to this nation up here, Stet. Now that's not particularly that intimidating, so we actually could co-belligerent them if we wanted to, but there's no need, because we don't actually want Cavalry's land. We don't actually want that province there. We want this province here. We don't have a claim for Cavalry. So we could make them a co-belligerent, but you got to be very, very, very careful. This will consider the enemy ally, click this to change whether or not to consider this enemy ally a co-belligerent. Once you make them a co-belligerent, if you read all this text here, it says that they'll add their own allies to the list. So if they were allied to Austria, we'd be fighting Austria and we wouldn't even know it, right? That'd be really bad. So we don't want to make them a co-belligerent. You very rarely do the co-belligerent thing. You have to really sort of research that out, whether or not you want to do that by researching their diplomatic networks and stuff like that. And we also need a reason to want to make them a co-belligerent. We don't really care about Cavalry that much. We're going to call Castile in, and mostly the reason for this is really just to slow Castile down, distract them, slow them down, get them into a war with us. When your allies are in a war with you, there's a lot of camaraderie there. There's a lot of, they're just happy to be with you in the war. I'm also hoping that Castile is going to help us with the navy, just sort of suppressing Cavalry and suppressing Brittany's navy. And also just maybe Castile might actually sort of land troops up here and actually help us take out Cavalry and get them out of the war. But here we go. So we've selected Castile to join us because they're willing. No one else is willing to join us. Austria doesn't have very high manpower, so they're complaining about that. Munster doesn't have a good enough army strength, so on and so forth. So these guys just don't want to join. Portugal is saying it's too far away. I don't care about that. The funny thing is, it's really not much farther away than Castile, but Portugal is saying I don't want to. Portugal just doesn't want to fight. They've made up their mind. Let's attack. Let's attack. And actually, we could, now that the war is locked in, Brittany cannot get any more allies. We are at war. We can't get any more allies. No one wants to join us while we're at war because they think we're going to throw them into a war. So what we could do is we could wait. Now that the war is declared, we could wait a month and just kind of hang out for a second and then swoop in Because their army's not going to change composition in a month. It takes about 60 days to build a troop. So they're not going to be able to like magically build up a different thing. This also gives Castile time to kind of like start to do some things maybe. So there we go. Our morale is topped off. Let's swoop in here for the battle. Looks like they're going to retreat over to here. That's fine. So we're just moving our troops to try to get a battle. So here's the thing. They're being slippery on us. If we go here, it says there'll be a battle. That's what these cross swords are. They're moving. We can see them. I can see them visually moving, but we can hover over there and say it's moving to Vantois, or Vantouay, or however you'd say this. I don't know how to speak French. I'm sorry, guys. So they're trying to move into here, right? If I do this, they'll actually stop moving there. So it's like, well, wait a second. They're being slippery. How do you do that? Well, you wait for them to lock in. If you wait till half their movement time, there we go. See that little lock right there? They're now locked in. Now we can attack them here. We can engage them, and they can't escape. They had to commit to that movement. They committed to that movement. So if it takes 10 days to get somewhere, after 5 days, you get locked in. Before that, you can change your mind. So that's how they deal with the fact that your army doesn't exist between provinces. They just exist in one until they teleport to another. But that's just how the movement is done. Oh, Kent's actually going to rise up on us, huh? Kent. We can move these guys over to here, and we can have these guys preemptively ready to fight the rebellion that's about to rise up here. But man, we only lost 1,000 troops. That is really, really, really good. So what I'm doing here, okay, so we won the battle. We weren't even paying attention to the battle. I'm sorry, guys. It was 6,000 versus 22,000 or 20,000 or something crazy like that, right? Decisively, we had a better general. We had a better military composition. We had just better everything. But we should have looked at that battle. It just ended too quickly. It actually just ended too quickly, and we only lost 1,000 regiment, or 1,000 men died. So that is dudes that we're gonna have to reinforce from our 1,000 people have to get reinforced from the manpower pool, and we're still gonna be taking attrition as we're sitting in enemy territory. So what I want to do though is what we're gonna do is we're gonna start detaching units. We want to carpet siege them now, right? We've won the war. They have no more troops. We need to carpet siege this land and basically siege them out. So we've won the battle, but we haven't actually occupied their country. We need to occupy their country. So I'm going to do this 4 times, okay? 4 times because they have 4 provinces here. This is a fort province. I can see the icon there, and I just know from playing the game as well that this is a castle. If I go to this tab, this is the province. It says there's a garrison of 2,000 here. If I open this up, I can see, oh yeah, there's castle here. There's a castle. The castle takes 6,000 men to siege. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 6,000 here. Now they're not fully reinforced, but they will get reinforced. I'm going to move the 6,000 there. These stacks here are actually like larger than they need to be. These ones without castles can just be sieged for, not for free, but for 1,000 troops. You need 1,000 troops on these provinces to siege them. This one's a little bit special because this one is a capital fort, and a capital fort requires 3,000. It's not a castle, but it's their capital. It always requires at least the 3,000. Let's get these extra 5,000 calves back over home. Let's get them back home because there's going to be a rebellion popped up here. I want these calves to help out with this battle. Oh, the one thing I'm noticing is I don't want John to be sitting on this fort. So let's... hold on. How do we do this? I'm splitting... So what I'm doing is I'm clicking on this to create a new unit. I've taken the general. The general cannot teleport while in enemy territory, but they can teleport if they're outside enemy territory. So I'm going to move John out of here. And once he's moved out, I can teleport him to here. So I'm going to replace this ruler with John because he's a better general, but I'm going to put our king, who has a siege pip, who's good at sieging. I'm going to move him in here. And the other good thing is, if he dies, he has a chance to die while he's sieging, which we want to have. We want that to happen. Let's get these cavalry. Let's just put them on the boat, right? I'm sorry guys, I'm going a little fast. I'm taking things for granted. I apologize. Grabbing these 5,000, there's cogs that are docked here. These are transport ships. I'm hitting this to attach to transport. They're now attached. A little symbol pops up. They are attached. You hear that little sound. They're ready to go. Let's move them and drop them off in Kent. I'm just clicking on Kent. It'll port them in Kent. Oh, there we go. See, these ones that don't have castles are falling quickly. They have nothing to defend themselves. This province, though, let's bring an extra troop in there. to round that up to 6,000, because we can click on this now and see we need 6,000 regiments are needed to siege this. So now we have 7,000, but they're not full strength. These other guys are actually looting the land. All of these guys are looting the land just by standing here. Some things are popping up. Other countries are doing things, right? As we're running the game, other countries are making moves. We're getting notifications about major wars that are breaking out, alliances that are forging, and trade leagues that are uniting and stuff like that, right? That kind of stuff is happening. Castile's trying to land 10,000 troops over here, which is kind of funny. Don't land them here. Land them over here. We actually got galleries actually making moves on us here. We could easily crush that. We could easily crush that, but we do need to fight these nobles here. And the reason why I'm fighting the nobles, unfortunately, this is going to cost us men. Ooh, 2,000 men died doing that. That's a bummer. Ooh, the surrender of Maine. This has happened. This is Maine down here. We're talking about this province right here. It belongs to us. There was a treaty, and essentially we agreed to give this over to France. So we're near the end of the 100 Years' War, and this was the final war, I think, of the 100 Years' War. There was an agreement that we would give this to France, and we never did. And France was like, what the heck? Like, honor the treaty. So if we don't honor the treaty, as was history, another war will break out here between England and France. Another one. Because this is like the 100 Years' War was like a bunch of little, not little, but a bunch of wars between France and England just through those 100 years. So we will not surrender an inch of territory to the French. No, we are going to surrender to the French. We're going to lose some prestige, we're going to lose some stability, but it's a lot better than the whooping that we would get if we attacked France right now, especially while we're distracted with another war. That would be bad on so many counts. So our stability's gone negative now. That's not good, and we're at war. There's a number of things going on while we're at war. We can go to our stability tab, we can see that we're gaining war exhaustion. Disaster is looming. Like, this is all not good. This is all clearly not good. Stuff is happening, but it's mostly internal instability. We are winning the war, at least. We're trying to get our manpower reserves up for that mission. Nice! Castile came up here and they're doing that for us, so we don't have to do that anymore. We're sieging these areas down. This is good. Castile is doing their job. Let's go, Castile. Let's go. What we could do is we could take our heavy ships, who are sort of messing with Brittany's fleet. Let's move them over here and let's actually blockade Cavalry. Let's actually put pressure on Cavalry. We have our heavy ships coming up here to beat up Cavalry a little bit. Wait a second, we have a parliament here that hasn't passed. Oh, we got to figure that out, guys. We got to figure that out. We could pay a little bit of money to have this pass. But keep them supporting it. Otherwise, they're gonna decide not to. What happens if we pass this while the event is going? We don't really have any army tradition. Let's do that. Yeah, we can pass the event. We could say let them oppose it. It's like if we pass it. That's funny. We kind of gamed the system a little bit there. There was an event where there was a seat of parliament that was choosing to change their vote. They were voting for something that we wanted, then they were choosing not to vote. But then we ended up sort of going through and clicking some buttons there. But essentially the parliament, what you're trying to do is you have to give things up. You give up resources to win the vote. That's what we did there. We're now saving money, minus 10% land maintenance modifier. That's really good, especially while we're at war. So we're saving like a ducat or so. We're saving 10% on this. Hey, it adds up. It adds up. And we ended up giving away maybe a little bit of diplomatic power and some other things. We also gave away some army tradition. We're talking about how good army tradition was, but our army tradition right now is so low that it doesn't really matter. It's like 0, 2, 3. It's basically the same. Ooh, we have new heir, a 440. Hey, that's a lot better than a 0, 0, 0. This is good. This is good. He's a strong claim to the throne. We have a good queen. The question is, the War of the Roses has ceased. It might come back another day. It might come back another day, but for now, the War of the Roses is not something to be concerned about. Gallery is at medium enthusiasm. Okay, so let's look at the war situation. So we're at war right now, right? If we go to the diplomatic tab, we can see we're at war. These guys are in red. These galleries in red. We're doing multiple different things. Castile's up here sieging down bits of Cavalry. We have our ships that are blockading Cavalry. It looks like Castile can't actually reach here. Oh no, this is actually being sieged. Cavalry's in multiple wars. Cavalry's in 2 different wars. Someone's taking advantage of the fact that Cavalry is destabilized. They've attacked into Cavalry or Cavalry's allies, and they're in 2 different wars. They're in a war with England and Castile, that's us, and then they're in another war with the Teutonic Order, the Mecklenburg, and so on and so forth, and Friesland. So that's why Friesland is down here. Friesland's actually sieging them out, but this is a separate war. Completely separate war, has nothing to do with us. So Cavalry is being besieged by an enemy combatant in a different war. They've lost one of their provinces, and we have our ships blockading the port. Naturally to say, Cavalry is probably feeling very low enthusiasm for the war. If we click on this crest down here, we can get a view of what's going on in the war. Who's against who, how many troops are on both sides, what's the Navy comparison look like, so on and so forth. Are we getting the ticking war score? Well, we are, because the war goal is for this. We're getting what's called a ticking war score. Every month, we gain war score just by occupying these provinces, which is really, really nice. So this number is going up. If we get to 100%, it's like an unconditional surrender. We can take whatever the heck we want, basically, up to 100%, what we call 100% peace deal. So if we have a free diplomat, we can go into here and we can start making the peace deal. And we'd be like, hey, we want this province. This only costs 11 war score. They won't do it now because we haven't sieged down their capital or their forts or anything like that. So they know they're not out of this war yet because we haven't really sieged down the provinces that truly matter. The castle here and the capital. So, but once we siege those, their tune's going to change here real quick. Real quick. But we can start to see, we could start to be like, hey, what do we want? Do we take all this? I mean, why not? Like, is there a reason to not take that? We'll have to see. But the thing is, we can actually, this is with Brittany, right? Who's the main target of the war. I can go click on Cavalry here, and I can separate piece Cavalry. I can separate piece them. We have 43% war score just against Cavalry themselves. Combination of the siege here and the blockade and so on and so forth. So we can actually go here and be like, hey, Cavalry, why don't you give us war reparations? Why don't you pay us 10% of your future income for 10 years? They're going to pay us 10% of their income for the next 10 years as like a tribute for losing the war and opposing us in this war and pay. They need to pay reparations. We can also take their money by just clicking this button here. You have 7 ducats. Hey, we could take those. They're not willing to do this. Oh, well now, oh, there we go. They'll do this. They'll give us 66 ducats and pay us war reparations. So they're paying us part of their future income, and they're paying a lump sum based on how much money they have right now in their treasury. We could also have them break their alliances and military accesses and different. We can have them annul treaties, basically, right? We could have them break their alliance with Brittany. But to be honest, they're so weak, I want them to keep this alliance. I want Brittany to hold on to Cavalry. Because if Brittany is allied to Cavalry, it's less likely they'll ally someone else, maybe, right? So just like we have certain diplomatic relationships that we're a limit that we're trying to abide by, the AI is too. So if the AI chooses to go out and ally a bunch of weak nations, I don't want to oppose that. I don't want to weaken that. I don't want to change that. So I don't want to break these. So even though this is a way to get prestige, you can kind of get prestige from doing this. Hey, if Cavalry wants to get out of the war, great. Let's get him out of the war. They'll pay us money to get out of the war. Sounds like a plan to me. Bring our heavy ships back around. So Cavalry is no longer in the war. We've separate pieced them out. Our war score dropped because some of that war score was coming from the fact that we were beating up Cavalry. However, we know that Brittany has no troops. We're sitting on their castles. It's just a matter of sieging these out. We're at -7% here. Man, these sieges can take a long time because the regular provinces that aren't protected by castles and forts and stuff, they go quickly. Here, we can see. Ooh, I see something I want to take advantage of here, actually, guys. A couple of things. Let's focus on this, reading this situation. Here, we can see there's a blockade here. We're getting -2 on our. So this is. We want these numbers to be higher. We haven't breached their walls. Their walls have not been breached. So we're just sitting outside the castle walls, just yelling at them, basically. Maybe we're hurling some rocks at them, but it's completely ineffective. Everything is fine. They're literally not actually on fire yet because we haven't even like really damaged their fortifications. But if we have a chance. Every phase cycle, we have a chance to basically break their walls. And once we do that, that'll help add to this negative number here and make it into more of a positive modifier. So right now we have a 0% chance to take this fort. But if we breach their walls, and we can also see there's a -2 here because we're not blockading their fort. We're over here with our army, but they're laughing at us because they're getting supplies coming in from their port. Thematically, it's all abstracted. It's not there's no literal ships coming in bringing them supplies. It's an abstraction. but we have not taken control of their port. The way we do that is we bring our ships, and we can actually sit here with ships. Even transports can do this. Transports aren't very good at combat, but they can blockade this area. So we can use these ships to blockade this area, just like we're using these ships to blockade the capital. So the capital here, this is a 0. We're blockading this province. So it's a 0. Now we have a 49% chance, part in part, because these ships here are blockading this area. We have a good general here. We get +1 from our general. We spent 12 cycles on this already. That's insane. So we could see, like, we've already spent years and years and years sitting on this province. Where does it say how long we've been here? 313 days trying to work on this, but we got a 49% chance, or a good chance we could take it. But what I'm noticing here is there are 6 transports here that belong to the Navy, the Brittany Navy. I'm kind of thinking it'd be kind of nice if we potentially stole some of these. So I'm going to move our ships into here for this engagement. It looks like the Castilians are already coming in. Because what we can do is we can capture ships in naval combat, which is kind of cool. So those are just a bunch of transports sitting out in the sea with nowhere to go, basically. We did not successfully capture one in that situation. That's okay. That's okay. We might be able to capture when the capital falls. Here we got a 49% chance here. There's a button up here that says Detach Blockade. That's what we did though, right? I detach blockade. So that gets rid of, that leaves behind the exact amount of ships that we need to blockade this province. Blockade these provinces. One thing that we're doing with our troops by sitting here is we're pillaging these areas. There's loot to be had here. So we're pillaging this by sitting here, which is kind of cool. These guys are getting detached. We've taken over, we've overrun the city, and the port, the Navy is fleeing. But these are heavy ships versus medium ships, or light ships. Not going to be able to compete with us there, unfortunately for them. Let's move them over here just to engage the Navy when this falls. We're also going to take our leader, King Henry, and hopefully he dies. That's kind of the hope here. We're going to move him onto the fort because, you know, anytime that he works on that, he has a chance to die. Okay, we have now taken everything. This is nearly completely looted. We can look at these other provinces. Oop, there's a lot of loot to get here. So we could just sort of... Cavalry are very good at looting provinces. Very, very good. They loot much faster than regular infantry. We actually don't really need to loot this province as much because we're going to take it for ourselves, so we don't want to devastate it too much. Nope, we never captured any of their ships. Bummer. Oh well, that's just how it goes. Let's send these guys home. Although the transports are going to need to actually bring back our own guys, potentially. So we can just sit here and we can continue to loot and make money and stuff because we're probably making really good money. It shows up in the Spoils of War section here. If we go to next month, we can see how that updates. So that decision, by the way, there we go. We're getting 2 ducats a month from Spoils of War. That decision, by the way, gave this to France. So France has taken Maine. France has taken Maine now. Okay. Let's use our diplomat. We have a 100% war score on Brittany. We can take this province. Hoorah! Let's go. And we can expand the English. So here's the thing. That's connected to our country, so it's contiguous. We don't have to worry about like having to use transports to like move over. Like this would be kind of an awkward province, but we could take that too. So when we take this province, we can see the cost of it down here in the bottom left. We can just click on the provinces we want, by the way. The red ones are, you know, these ones. The dark red ones are ones we can't reach or can't grab for some reason, but these ones we can just grab because we've sieged all of them. So we can grab this. This is the one we actually had a claim on. We can see it doesn't cost us any diplomatic points to take this because we have a claim on it. It takes a certain amount of aggressive expansion. These are really important concepts here, guys. We're going to add 17 aggressive expansion to some surrounding countries, up to 17. Like France is one that's going to be very upset by this. France and Provence, the ones that are more nearby, the ones in this region will get like a certain amount of aggressive expansion. These guys over here are going to care less, but here's the thing. That's 17, that's not too big of a deal because it says that it'll warn us if we're taking so much that a coalition could form against us. For a coalition to form against us, a country has to be at negative 50 aggressive expansion against you. So 17, that's only 1/3 of 50. That's not a big deal at all. That's not a big deal at all. We're going to get some overextension. This affects our internal stability. So overextension is an internal thing. We do not want to get this over 100%. If we get this over 100%, it's bad news bears. If this goes over 100%. If this goes over 50%, we have to take a quick look at what's going on. We have to assess the situation. It's not necessarily terrible, but it could be bad. It's going to be 50 admin points to core this land. So this is one of the uses for admin power, is to core land that you take. So that's actually something to consider, but that's something that can never go away. You can never remove this cost entirely. You can just make it cheaper. The diplo points go away because we have a claim here. If I grab this province instead, we don't have a claim here, so we have to pay diplomatic power. We have to use diplomatic energy to basically convince everybody, hey, we're taking this province instead, guys. I know we said that we were going for this one, but we're actually going to take this one. That requires us jumping through some hoops. Some reasons why we might want to do that, though. We'll talk about that here. But yeah, the aggressive expansion. Let's just say, let's take it all. What the heck? Let's take it all. 55% overextension, that's fine. 269 admin. Not good. Not good, because we're at 160 and we're at negative stability, which costs us admin to get out of that hole. So that's not good. So we are not going to be able to core the land, which is going to mean that this overextension will linger. What you have to do to get rid of the overextension is you have to core the land. We'll see how that works once we actually get out of this war. But the other thing we got going here is 78 aggressive expansion. Burgundy, France, Provence. These people are going to join a coalition against us. We could literally have Burgundy and France and Provence teaming up. We could have this entire blob here teaming up against us. That's like potentially up to 100,000 troops. Because remember, France includes all these little subject nations. Burgundy includes a bunch of little subject nations of their own, like Nevers and Holland and Flanders and Brabant. I mean, it would literally be a huge wave if we took all of this. It's just completely impossible. It's completely impractical. However, we might choose to do this. We get 30 aggressive expansion. Okay, yeah, France. We know France, Burgundy, and Provence are going to be very upset by this. But for the most part, there's two different ways to look at this, guys. We could try to cut them off here to kind of prevent France and Provence from taking advantage of this vacuum of power that we've weakened Brittany. But see, that gets us up to over 50, and it says that Brittany specifically is going to be pretty upset by that. Brittany doesn't matter as much because Brittany is going to have a truce. You can't join a coalition with someone if there's a truce. You can only join a coalition against someone if you don't have a truce with them. So Brittany themselves, we actually don't care about Brittany's opinion. Of course they're going to be upset with us for taking this land. But this is a fortification, guys. This is a fortification. And next time we fight Brittany, that fortification is going to be annoying to try to take. But you know what? I kind of like the idea of cutting them off more. I kind of like the idea of this, but man, it's going to be expensive if we do that. We could do something like this to fracture their country, to split their country. I'm just kind of clicking on things. I think we might want to take 2 provinces here. We might want to take 2. But which 2 is the question? Which 2 is the question? Let's take this and hope for the best. There we go. We'll take this because it's a fortification. It took us like over a year to siege this, right? So let's take this so we don't have to siege it again. We're going to pay a little bit of diplo because it's unjustified. We're going to pay more admin. Not more admin, but we're going to have more than if we took 1 province. We're not getting a penalty on the admin. But we are taking a little bit more aggressive expansion, and we're taking a little bit more overextension. We'll see how that works. We could also take war reparations, just like we took from Cavalry. So we can have Brittany pay us, and we can also take their money. Which is great. We can have them annul treaties and rivalries and things. We can have them break their rivalry with Provence. But here's the thing, the larger, we can go up to 100% down here, guys, right? Because we have a 100% war score. So we're at 62. We can't go over 100%. It's just completely impossible. The game won't let you go over 100%. So it turns out that we could take all the land for less than 100%. But we can also do this. That's 30% war score, and that gets us to 92. It's like, well, we might as well. It gives us some prestige and stuff to do to break that rivalry with Provence. However, the bigger the war deal, the closer you are to 100%, the longer the truce is. We want to keep the truce relatively shorter so we can come in and attack them and clean them up and finish up the rest of their land in a future war. This is going to be about 11-year truce. If it's 15 years if you do a 100% peace deal. It's 5 years if you do a 0% peace deal. So for every 10 war score, you add 1 year to the truce. So we don't need to add 3 years to this truce here to end the rivalry. We're just going to do this. This is good. We get their money. We get some of their land. This is great. This is great. This fort right here is we'll keep it around for now, but it's really not that important for a fort. In fact, speaking of forts, I'm gonna mothball this one, mothball this one, because we don't need to pay for those ones. We'll keep this one around just because it's another fort in sort of the French area. And here's the thing, guys, we now have unrest. We have provincial unrest. We've taken land. And now we have that causes some instability. These people here, the people that we took this land from Brittany, the government, the nation of Brittany, but the people that live here are still clearly like, what the heck? We didn't agree to this. Like, they're going to want to rise up. They're going to want to rise up to become separatists. They're going to want to break off and rejoin Brittany's nation. So we're going to have to actually like quell these rebellions, and these will most likely happen. We're not likely going to be able to prevent them from happening at least once, but we can be ready for them. We can see them coming. We can anticipate it. We can see that. But when we click on these provinces, it says there's unrest here, 10% unrest. We can click on this tab, it'll bring up the stability screen, and we can see sort of what's going on here. It's estimating within 5 years this revolt will happen. Within 5 years. That's still quite a ways away. It's going to be about 8,000 troops are going to rise up against us. That's not very bad at all. So this is actually not too scary. It's not too scary. One thing that will help actually is by actually getting rid of the overextension. So we have overextension. This up here says your provinces lack cores. We need to core this. These are resulting in 10% and 12% overextension. 1% per development, right? This is 10 development. This is 12 development. So we're going to core those with admin points. Unfortunately, admin points are very precious, so we're going to lose out on those. Kind of a bummer. Yeah, our admin situation is not great. Our economy, at least we're making money. It feels good. We're getting some war reps from both those countries, but it's a very small amount. Their income is very low. Cavalry and Brittany have a very low income, it seems. The spoils of war is about to go away too, so it'll be interesting to see how much we're making once everything subsides. We're almost making money from doing that war. So we're coring this land. We're anticipating rebellion here, but it looks like it's ways away. Corruption is growing. This makes everything essentially cost more monarch points, what we call the power points, the admin, diplo, military points. It's like an inflation for monarch points, for like government action. So corruption is going up. And this is because of the overextension. And our leader's an embezzler. That's one of the things there. And we're rooting out some of that corruption. We need to root out a little bit more so that it subsides. And it doesn't like... We want to get rid of the corruption that we have, and we also want to make sure it doesn't grow. We want to keep that down. Florence is asking for military access. They're at war with Provence. Sure, let's give them military access. Giving people military access just makes them happy. It's fine. We're trying to get these guys up to a 190 so we can vassalize them. We're also trying to get our manpower up. We can bring these guys home if we want. Kind of up to us, I guess. Whether we care about that or not. Oh, we don't really have to pay for our army anymore, right? Oh, the transports were in the wrong spot. They were here when they should have been here. We don't have to pay for our army, but we have to be very conscious of the rebellions that are coming. But it's saying it's going to be about 5 years away. The way this works, okay? The way this works, let's lower our army maintenance down to save like a bunch of money here while we're at peace. And we could think about what to be spending our actual money on. That's something we could start to think about and talk about as well. Go to our stability tab again. We can see this is the rebellion that's coming. This is the possible rebellion. So this is saying if we hover over this here, saying there's 2 provinces that are involved in this, the estimated actual revolt is going to be 8,000 troops, 8,000 rebels that we'll have to fight, which we can easily take care of with our army. But this is saying that every month there is a 17% chance that the rebellion itself will gain 10 progress. So it doesn't just go instantly, like there's no chance that these guys just instantly rise up. It's not like 10% per month to rise up. No, it's actually going to, that's why it's going to take like 5 years for this, because they have to climb the ladder, so to speak. They have to go to 10% progress, 20%. They have a 17% chance to get progress, but it only rebels once they get to 100%. So you can see them getting up to 80, getting up to 90. Once they're at 90, it's like, okay, they're coming. 80% is when this turns red. When this turns red, it goes to 80, or when it goes to 80, it turns red. That means that we'll be okay. Let's move our troops into position to deal with that, right? Kind of like how we had that event that said there was going to be rebellion here in Kent, and we got these troops preemptively. We got them here to embrace the rebels, or to sort of cut the rebels off, basically. One big thing we're doing right now is we're trying to get. Oh, we're very, very close. We're very, very close to getting this guy to 190. 190 is the magic number there. We have a mission that's been fulfilled. Ooh, the 100 Years' War. Okay, so let's click on this button here. And that gives us permanent claims on the Paris area. So here's Paris here. Permanent claims on all of this. That's great. That's great. And that's because we finished the 100 Years' War is over. Because we ended up agreeing to our treaty here. Oh, we also have trustworthy allies, so we could do that. That gives us more diplomatic reputation. That's good. That'll help us vassalize these guys a little bit easier. Diplomatic reputation is a metric that basically encourages people to do what you want them to do, essentially. So we have a lot of positive modifiers here for why they want to be our vassal, because they know that we'll protect them and bring them into the fold there. So we're very close. We're only a few months away from getting enough to do that. And I think that's kind of how we'll end this episode. This has been a successful episode. We did our first war. We're trying to build up our man. We did lose manpower, so we did kind of take a step back there. We're trying to get up to 60% on that. What province is this? So we can click on this button here to go to the province in discussion. We can look at it and see it's a 221. None of these are really great. But it is more a base tax area. It's also a livestock province. So we can look and see, but we can sort of assess this province. It's 2 base tax, 2 production, 1 base manpower. So it doesn't produce a lot of manpower, but it produces more taxation and production. However, the production is livestock. Livestock's not exactly the most valuable trade good compared to like paper or gold or gems or salt or something like that, right? So livestock is kind of ho-hum compared to the other represented goods that it could have been. So in this case, we don't really need to boost local trade power because it's also not really much of a trade. It's not a trade center. We haven't talked about those too much, but London, for example, we could see in the province down here, it shows that this is sort of modifiers for the province. These are province modifiers, and this is saying that this is like a main trade port. That's what these things are. They're main trade ports, a level 2 center of trade, and it gives us like massive local trade power production boosts and things like that. So it's a big trade factor. If this event was for London, doing the trade power would probably be really, really powerful. But here we're probably going to do taxation. We're going to do taxation. We could have done manpower because we need manpower, but yeah, basically we're getting 100% of this. Now it's like a 4 base tax for the next like 5 years or something like that, or maybe it's just a year. Not a big deal. Not really as big of a deal as it sounds there. Oh, we have a lot of money. Let's think about what we can do with that. We can build light ships. We can build light ships because those will make more money. They're 20 ducats each, so we could spend 100, and we could get up to our force limit there by building 5 of them. So basically, we go into the production tab. We go to Navy, where we can build military, or we can build Navy. In fact, we should probably, so I can, for 10 ducats, I can build a troop. But these troops have a high maintenance cost of 0.2 ducats per month, whereas the light ships are 0.04 ducats per month. Very cheap. They're almost free to maintain. And they cost 50 sailors, and they cost 20 ducats. So we spent 100 of our ducats to do that. Eventually, we can go to this production tab and go down to the building section. And it says we could build a castle. But we don't really need to build castles. We have castles all over the place. We don't need to build a castle anymore. We don't need any more castles up here. We don't really need the castles we even have up here, to be honest. Like, we could probably get rid of this castle, honestly. Let's get rid of this castle. Why do we even have it? Instead, what we could do is we could pay for this one, because paying for castles is better than, in terms of our maintaining our army tradition, right? We were talking about army tradition. Having fully maintained forts actually increases the amount of army tradition we get per year. So we can gain a little bit per year by maintaining these forts. So I'm going to destroy this one so we can maintain this one. So economically, we're taking half a ducat here and we're spending half a ducat there. But we're doing better by our army tradition. Yeah, Portugal wants that royal marriage still. Oh, we're at 190. We're at 190. Let's vassalize these guys. Hooray, offer vassalization. Booyah, perfect. And we could talk a little bit about that. Let's go down here and offer vassalization to these guys. Hey, they accepted. Great. They accepted. The mission completed. We have to acquire 2 subjects, so we can do this to reduce diplomatic annexation costs. Now, we're not going to annex these guys. It takes 10 years before you can actually annex them. But that does tell us, right? We can diplomatically integrate these guys into our country. Now, Annex Vassal. This makes the vassal, instead of this takes on their troops and their ships and their land and makes it part of England directly part of England, which is really cool. But we can't do this. They have to be our subject for 10 years. 10 years, and then we could do that. We have to maintain good relationships and keep their loyalty down, their liberty desire down. Liberty desire down. Here at 0%, they have no desire to rebel against us. Really, really good. No desire to rebel. I'm still going to break that. We do have too many diplomatic relations. Man, I'm very tempted to just ditch Portugal here. I'm very tempted to ditch Portugal because we have Castile, we have Austria. Do they like us? Austria really likes us. Castile really likes us. Let's make sure the Pope likes us. Since I want to go work on the Pope, let's keep working on Brittany. We need another claim. We don't have a reason for war. We already used up our reason for war by taking this province down here, right? So we don't have a reason to attack them again. And we have a truce with them for about 11 years, right? 1458, the truce comes due. But still, let's get that prepared. Let's pave the way for another future war against Brittany, because that's good expansion land that we can take to strengthen our country, right? This is land that we're integrating into our country, which is really, really nice. We have a situation here. We can increase unrest massively in our country, or we can increase the Catholic reform desire and make the Pope really upset. No. I don't think we want to make the Pope upset, actually. And this is going to make France and Burgundy, Brittany, and all these other countries upset. We don't really care too much about France and Burgundy, but keeping them happy is better than not. The Pope we do care about. We're going to do this. This looks devastating. However, it's going to make the Pope happy, and I think that is going to create a new rebellion. It's going to be 10,000 troops when those guys rise up. Now, this might be a temporary modifier. Let's try to figure out where this rebellion is. There's an Unrest Map Mode. Okay, it's highlighting these different provinces. And if we click on these provinces, we can see they have different developments, right? We talked a little bit about development. 8 development, 5 development, 8 development, 9 development, 6, so on and so forth. So they're going to actually spawn. Most likely, we can estimate that they'll spawn in the highest development province. They should spawn in Hampshire here. But it's going to be years from now. 4 years from now, they'll spawn. We can go down here and see, how long does this last? It lasts for 20 years, so it is likely to spawn. So in about 5 years, we'll start to worry about that. Uh-oh. We don't want to lose more stability, so we're going to lose some money here. And we're going to make sure that we stay, pay money to, rather than centralize, or I don't know, whatever the options were there, whatever the thematic choices were there. We had a choice basically to lose 80 ducats or lose the stability. Our stability is already in the hole. We need to get that stability up. We could pay admin to do that now, but admin points are so precious. I'm just kind of holding on to them right now. I'm just holding on. We don't need to be working on Munster anymore. It's unnecessary. We're at 70. I think we have enough manpower. We're very, very close to our manpower. However, we need to build our troops. So we're not quite there yet. Guys, this was a good episode 2. We went to war. We did a successful war. We're working on our missions. We're very close. Once that mission gets done, once we get 60% manpower and 100% naval force or military force limit, 100% of our armies raised, once we levy the troops, we'll be able to terrorize Ireland and Scotland. It'll be fantastic. It'll be fantastic. Otherwise, we're just kind of like, we've maintained peaceful relationships with France, relatively peaceful. We're not friends with them, but we opted for peace rather than war, and that's keeping our country stable. We have some internal stability issues, some unrest that we're working on, and so on and so forth. In the next episode, we will be back and we will continue on exploring more of the concepts for England. But for the most part, we've actually covered a lot of the game so far. We've covered looking at the diplomatic ecosystems, a lot of the diplomacy play. We've talked about war, the basic core sense of using diplomats to create fabricated claims, and then using those claims to go to war with countries and taking land in war, some of the things to look out for with that. So we've actually covered a lot of really important concepts. But thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I will see you guys in the next episode.